What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Ground Force Gaming. Nova here with another Street Fighter Duel video, and today we are going to be covering the new trial for Rich E. Honda. This is pretty exciting. It's always nice to get a new tank with different mechanics introduced into the game. So what I did here was I tried to use him as much as possible because he's actually dealing quite a bit of damage. If you've looked at his skills already, you'll see that his super is actually quite good and his C1 is actually very good as well. We'll dive into the skills a little bit more at the end of this. I'll pull them up so you guys can take a look. But right now, I just wanted to focus on really just beating this trial and showing you the teams that I use. The last team that I used was kind of interesting. It's definitely not the best team to do it, but it did work. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But this trial was, to be honest, quite simple because he's very good, and we have good fighters available to use. We've got Guile in here, we've got Sea Viper available, we've got Flame Adon available to use as well. So it shouldn't be that hard for you guys to do this successfully and quickly as well. There's one fight that I had to do quite a few tries on, and it's because this trial, in my opinion, based on how it played out, it was quite heavily based on speed. So this team is a little bit fast, and then there's another team that you'll fight later on that's also quite fast as well. There's a Summer Ibuki on the team. So you just kind of have to think about how you can counteract that speed, how you can either try to go first, find a way to be faster, or just find a way to sustain those first few trigger skills. Because with the Summer Ibuki team, she's going to take everybody down to like, I don't know, 33% health if you don't have like a method in place for kind of dealing with that right away, because she's so fast, she's going to go first. So some of these teams, like, interestingly enough, I used E Honda here, if I recall correctly. I used his super, and it was just because he's doing a lot of damage and it's helping sustainability for the whole team. So his C2 is doing some shielding, his C1 is doing a lot of damage, and I think he's the first fighter. Well, Zangief is doing damage based off of his defense on his C2. So he's not technically the first, but his super is running like a 1,200 some percent damage buff based on his defense. So that's pretty cool because his soul power gives him a ton of defense. So if you are thinking about building him, interestingly enough, he's going to be a tank that you're going to prioritize using the super for. And I think that that's pretty interesting because it really frees up a lot of like functionality with the rest of a team that you could build around him, where you're not really needing to run like a true DPS with him. You could just be focusing on like a C3 for someone. So you could use like Dulsteam with him or something as an example. But I don't know, I haven't really played around with teams at all. I'm just speculating right now. And I also haven't checked the leaderboards for the event to see if anyone's using him yet, because that would be interesting to see what kind of team compositions people are making. But overall, I'd say he's a pretty solid unit. I don't know if he changes priority, to be honest with you. I still feel like Gouken might be better just based on how the kit reads and not doing any testing, right? I've not done any testing, but just how it reads, how it plays. I think Gouken, if you're going to be going for a special summon unit that's a tank, I think Gouken might still be your priority. I do think that the good thing about pulling for these tanks is that you don't need to get them to SSS. You can just get them to SS and then get their fighting spirit unlocked, and then they're gonna do very well for you, whether it's PvP, PvE, or in boss fights as well. I mean, like even an A grade Gouken will do well for you in boss events because you get so much stat boosting from the workbench and from like the manuals that you get to do like the in event upgrades. So you don't really need to invest like super heavily into them. Like as an example, Summer Elaine is one of them that kind of functions the same way. Obviously, yes, at SSS she's really good, but at SS she's just fine, as well. You can just stop there and just use her at SS, because then you can get her FS30, which is the most important aspect of her kit. So this is one that I was talking about here, and we're gonna play this fight back twice because this is a tough one. There's a Summer Ibuki on the team, and she deals a lot of damage, but this was the team that did it for me. And like I said, it leaves room for like an interesting lineup, right? Because we're running E Honda, Summer Yang, and then we're running E Honda again, and then we're just using Guile. But he never even got to do his C3 because the nuke from Summer Ibuki was just too much. But the damage that's coming out of him is just it's crazy. And he's doing some self-healing as well, which is true to the E Honda style that this game has. But it's pretty impressive, to be honest, because I almost quit out of that one in the beginning because their skills cycled so quickly. And like I mentioned before, that Summer Ibuki is going to get your health down to like 33%. So she runs her super right here, and it deals a ton of damage. Right? There's DJ out right away. There's Summer Yang out right away. It's just these two left, and just them alone, like just E Honda basically does it with his super and his C2. It's pretty impressive. There's nothing more terrifying in a game like this than a tank that does damage, because it just adds so much more to a team. It's a quite interesting kit, to be honest with you. So like I said, we'll pull the skills up here. You guys can take a look. I'm not going to dive too deep into them, but this is just so you can get a look if you need to, but you can check it out on your own as well and read a little bit more into it. But I do think that if you're going to use him, I think you're going to be using his super, that's a first for a tank, in my opinion here, because I don't use any supers for any other tanks that I use ever. Like I never do it. Every once in a while, there's like a niche reason why you would use the original E Hondas just for the damage sharing and sustainability, but it wouldn't even be something that you would do all the time. You'd like run it like once during a fight or something just to give yourself like a little boost of survivability. But this would be like a full fight situation. So his vehicles just boost his passive, which is of course is good if you're going to do it. But like I said, I think you can probably sit with him at, with him at SS for a little while, because his FS30 makes him trigger his C2, which is really cool. Anytime you can additionally do some triggering of skills for a fighter, that's amazing, especially when it's doing some shielding, and it's just kind of like helping to buff the team up. So yeah, I mean, I think pretty awesome fighter overall. His talent that he has here with his EX move is basically he just comes flying in and does his super. Like a copy of him comes in and does his super. So, I mean, why not? Some extra damage on the field, some buffing, it looks like, damage reduction to the target. So he also is making the enemy team take more damage because he's reducing their level of damage reduction. So it's pretty good. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. That's the video. Hopefully it helped you. Be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned for next videos coming up. Cheers.